Mr. Governor, thank you for talking to TRT World. Tell me, how did you find out about the coup attempt?
Teşekkür ediyorum geldiğiniz için. O akşam 9
Thank you for coming on such short notice. I first received a phone call from the provincial police chief at around 9 in the evening. I then received another phone call from another citizen and was warned of some mobility on the bridge. However, I told them to look into the matter in the hope of better understanding the matter at hand. At that moment, I got in touch with the 1st Army commander and discussed this matter. He wasn't fully aware of what was going on at the time either. We then decided to meet outside somewhere to look into the matter, and I immediately left my house to the Bosphorus Bridge. The 1st Army commander and police chief arrived on scene before I did, and the three of us did a quick situation assessment by looking into different situations across Istanbul and took precautions accordingly. At that point, we received word that the Istanbul governorship was among one of many targets that was planned to be occupied. At around 11 at night, a group of soldiers came to the governorship office, and because we only took routine cautionary measures according to normal circumstances, entreating pro-coup soldiers forced their way into the building from the side door. From what we could identify, the soldiers stayed here for some 2 hours. They looked through every room and forced their way into some locked rooms and damaged some in the process. Afterwards, around 1 in the morning, the soldiers were evacuated from the building after a group of local citizens stormed the building with the backing of the building security team. I would like to emphasize on one fact. This act was aimed at our country's administration, president, elected government, and parliament. It was an attempt at the people's integrity and tranquility and cannot be explained in any other way. We had no choice but to stand against those forces with our people and security forces, even if it meant that we had to put our own lives on the line, and that is exactly what we did. I would especially like to thank our citizens. They stood up for their democracy, their government, and freedom. They demonstrated that they are against all sorts of coups in a very strong manner. That night, I met with our chiefs, government officials, and the president, and we put into practice the directives and precautions respectively. I pray that God will not make us relive these moments ever again. However, given the situation at hand, we stood witness to the fact that people are strong on their feet, the people are awake and wary against all forces who intend to take away their freedom and liberty. They stand with the government.
And how will this affect the people of Istanbul?
Normal daily life will not be affected in any way, whether it be social life or economically. It will not be noticed. However life was like a week ago, or even a year ago, life will continue to be the same in Istanbul and in Turkey. There will not be any serious implementations in that manner.
State of emergency grants more powers for district governors. What does that mean exactly?
Valilerimize verilen daha fazla güç ve yetki.
The authority given to governorships is to ensure that those involved in the coup attempt and this betrayal are identified and delivered to judicial authorities, and to ensure that their trials are carried out justly, as well as to speed up the judicial process in case of any other unfavorable events. At this point, governorships were given additional authority, and it will be used by the boundaries of the law. In addition, we will not give way to arbitrary decisions, and this act will not lead to restrictions of anyone's human rights.
Is there another threat of a coup, another coup?
Şu anda devlet olarak duruma hakimiz.
We as the government are in control of the situation as of now, and our precautionary measures are strong. We do not regard another attempt at an uprising as likely from this point on. However, we need to be ready and aware in any event. Risks like this are always existent in any part of the world. However, I believe the threat has been minimized. Therefore, we will carry on with our precautionary measures. In order for these measures to be implemented, our citizens are displaying a powerful stance in support of our state and government.
A personal question. I'm an expat living in Istanbul. Should I be concerned, or should people like myself be concerned living here?
Yani kendinizi o anlamda
You do not need to feel the slightest hesitation in that sense. however you were going about with your daily life yesterday or a week ago, you can go about your life in the same safety and comfort. We had special precautions in place especially for our foreign guests and tourists before, which is why I can tell them to rest at ease. There is no reason for them to feel unsettled within Turkey in this sense.
Teşekkür ediyorum. Thank you very much.